going to be on you. I'm just in the corner. Hello, Wanda.
Hi, Tiffany. How are you?
My new best friend. Okay. I'm so happy you're part of Character Day. We only recently met.
Yes.
And now we're fully enmeshed.
Absolutely.
I'm going to give your official title. Give me a moment. I'm going to read it. Wanda M. Holland Greene is the head of Hamlin School in San Francisco, a mission-driven institution dedicated to best practices and innovation in education of girls and young women. An experienced leader in education with a powerful voice, I can attest to that, and presence, Ms. Holland Greene has given careful attention to academic and ethical excellence, equity and justice, wellness and global citizenship. Currently, she serves as a trustee at Head Roy School, and her alma mater is Columbia University. Hello, Wanda.
Hello, Tiffany. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's so great. So I have to tell everyone how I met Wanda. I'm working on a film on the past, present, and future of women in power. And I went to a women's summit in San Francisco, and Wanda was asked to perform a poem that blew my mind. I was so inspired. I kept thinking about it, and I kind of stalked her and found her online and wrote a cold email like, I must see that video again. Who are you? We must connect. And anyway, long story short, she came to a brainstorm for the film. I'm filming her this coming week, re-performing the poem. And everything that I hear from your mind and soul is so powerful that we must get Wanda. I mean, you are running one of the oldest and best schools in San Francisco. And I want to talk to you about character. And I would love for you to just on that word and the renewed focus on character education, talk to me about that.
This is one of the subjects that I could talk about for hours and days, because I believe deeply that the purpose of education is not only to think about competence and skills and knowledge, but also to answer the question, what kind of people do we want our children to become? You know, there are certain behaviors that don't fast forward well from childhood into adulthood, and it's our job to teach directly the skills of character in the same way that we think about the scope and sequence of mathematics or a world language. It's equally important to teach children how to be empathic, teach them how to make ethical decisions, and to build a curriculum that supports the kind of growth and outcomes that we want to see. So at Hamlin, and I know in many other schools around the world, we think very intentionally about the end product. And we appreciate today. We certainly love that today is September 22nd. It's Character Day, and we want to wallow and just marinate in this day. But I also want my girls here at Hamlin to be amazing human beings in the September 22nds of the future. And from the beginning of their time at Hamlin all the way through 8th grade, we think about and teach daily lessons and role plays and ways in which they can practice and fail in these particular arenas. And I'm very passionate in particular about girls finding their way as ethical leaders, because I truly believe that girls and women, and I think this is where you and I really resonate, Tiffany, is that the silencing of girls around the world, the lack of access, the lack of equity and justice as it relates to girls' education is something that troubles me deeply. And if we can galvanize our efforts to bring about change for girls and teach them the skills that they need to know, moral development, character being one of them, I think we're going to see more women in the world who are leading ethically. And frankly, I think that women come to the world in a way where I don't want to say anything's natural necessarily, but I think the way women lead is really different from the way men lead. And I think one of the ways in which we can increase character in the world is by putting more women in leadership.
Love it, yes.
And that's not a plug for any presidential election, really. It isn't.
I was about to say Wanda for president. That's what I was about to say. Wanda, I will be leading the campaign of Wanda for president very soon. So why do you think there's been such a renewed interest lately? I mean, you've been in education a long time, and it does. I mean, obviously, well, I have to say one thing.
Yes.
Because Character Day we have all these 90,000 events happening in 124 countries right now.
Incredible.
To create energy, because I think nothing replaces the energy of everyone doing the same thing at the same time. That is a very powerful piece. We are united in our desire to be better human beings.
Yes, it's like one big flash mob for equity and moral character.
Yes, but then we the goal, and we're releasing tomorrow, I'll tell you now, but we have this hub we've been working so hard on called Character Every Day. And you can search by character strength, by age, and by film, book, app, research, lesson plan on how to strengthen that character. All 24 character strengths from Marty Seligman's work, as well as some we've added like empathy and the various others that I know are discussed a lot and that we explored in one of our films. So we are releasing that. So that'll be a free resource for everyone. We're excited about. But I think a lot about, we didn't talk about character when I was growing up.
Yeah.
That was just like, and when I've looked throughout the history of character and education, it was often in the religious settings.
Yes.
People talked about character in church, in temple. That's where you talked about values and morals and being a good person. And then what we saw is that church and state got separated. Affiliation has actually gone down. You wouldn't know it, but affiliation has gone, all the Pew studies has gone down in America. So suddenly character wasn't talked about in education. And then people are hungry. We have more complex issues. We're getting more complicated as we are becoming more global and all these issues. So it's like there's this hunger for character, but I'm just wondering what your perspective on all of that is.
Yeah. Well, I think that schools have had to take on more, Tiffany, like it or not, children don't simply show up with just a brain, each day on the thresholds of schools around the world. They show up as whole people. And we can't bifurcate children or slice them into the cognitive, the spiritual, and the moral and hope that different institutions take care of pieces of people. Institutions take care of whole people. And so in some ways, schools have had to take on more because we've had to, support families that are working more. I think economics are sometimes, better, but a lot of the times worse than they were previously. And we are open at Hamlin from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So in many ways, schools have had to become partners with families, not simply other guiding institutions alongside families, but really linking arms. And one of the things I say to people who are looking at Hamlin in the admissions process is you need to look very closely to make sure that your family values align with Hamlin's values and commitment to character, because we are going to spend a lot of time with your daughter. So you want to be on the same page with us. So I think families have changed. I think schools have changed in many ways to broaden their idea of what education is for. Because I truly believe that when you think about, the early teachers, and I'm talking about Socrates and Aristotle, they were all talking about virtue, right? They were talking about morality. So in some ways it's not really new, but I think what's new is our responsibility, that we feel that we cannot do a job halfway anymore. And I'm not saying that anyone thought they were doing a job halfway before, but I think we recognize that children need practice in understanding what it means to be a morally upstanding person. And we cannot expect them to know what that is without teaching them. So if you never give a child practice with multiplication, why would you expect them to be able to multiply when they leave school? If we haven't given children practice in ethical decision-making, why would we expect them to make the right decision? And so I think that character is a lot of things. And a lot of what I was thinking about this morning, when I think about leadership and character, when I woke up this morning and I turned on the news and you see what's going on in Charlotte, North Carolina, and you ask yourself, is this a moral question? Is this a political question? Is this a character question? And, a lot of people who are, throwing, a barrel into a storefront and looting, they see themselves as civil rights leaders. And you might think to yourself, well, maybe that person, when he or she looks in the mirror, feels like a leader, but what that person didn't learn is the self-regulation to make good on the moral outrage that he or she feels, right? So schools have a very complex task. It's not just about teaching the values, but it's also about teaching decision-making skills together with self-regulation skills. And when you put that together, teaching empathy alone isn't enough, because people who empathize with the person who's been brutalized by the police, they empathize, but then they might choose to do something that actually hurts someone else. So it's a very interesting and complex time. So that when you break down character education, it's not just teaching the values, it's also, now what do I do with the values? How do I understand what the right thing to do is? And how do I calm myself? Because moral outrage is real. After you teach someone what ethical values are and they see that something is wrong, you have to teach children. So what do you do with that? Because you can see moral outrage gone amok can wind up hurting people. And so I'm just all fired up about this issue because you see it everywhere you go.
Well, how do you talk to your, I mean, do you see behind me, there's like these periodic table of character strengths. Oh.
Yes, I love that.
Because it is all interrelated, which is exactly what you're talking about. It's all these strengths and giving a language to them, and then knowing how to build them, and then knowing how to talk about them and regulate them. That is the prefrontal cortex.
Yes.
Having a way to regulate ourselves. I mean, I know there are days where I feel like I've done well, and then there are days where I don't. Like, how can I sleep is an amazing asset for me to regulate better. And when I'm always trying to, sleep is like magic. I tell that to my kids too, because that's an interesting thing that, of course, all the science has backed up how critical sleep is. I just was at back to school night on my daughter's school at Mill Valley Middle School, which I love, which I also went to, a great public school in Marin County. And they were talking about sleep. And we have the science to back it up. You need sleep to make good decisions. And the kids are so stressed out and they're not sleeping enough. And the parents need to go, you know what, you have to go to bed. I don't care if you have homework, you need to go to sleep.
Absolutely.
And, sleep, being able to help you make decisions, feeling really grounded with your family and friends. I mean, all of the things that we talk about.
And it also consolidates. It's the time when your brain consolidates information. So we know a lot more about the brain than we did, even 10, 20 years ago. And when, a child has a social studies test tomorrow, her inclination, because that prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed until, the early 20s, that child thinks study more, use time to study more. And brain science says go to sleep, because everything you've studied comes all, together and comes to you in a better way. And so, all of the tools that we need to teach children in order to really make good on the education that we have delivered, the eating well and sleeping and hydrating. And I'm actually in a really wonderful group.
I'm gonna hydrate as you said that. Go ahead.
You see, here's mine. Here's my bottle right here. But we're taking good care of ourselves so that we can take care of our children. And as we teach children, we need to teach them to take care of themselves, because, at the end of the day, you can give a child, or facilitate in a child's learning environment so many wonderful things. They can walk around with a box full of gems, but if they don't know the worth of each gem, and if they don't know how to save some and give some away, then it doesn't matter that they have a bunch of gems, because they're of no use to them. And so my goal as an educator is to not only make sure that a child has the core competencies and skill sets and habits of mind and heart that she needs to succeed as a woman in this world, but my job is also to make sure that when she gets to the end of that journey at Hamlin and keeps moving forward in her life, that she actually understands how to navigate the world in a way that protects herself and helps her become a steward of her world. And so I can't just give her a bunch of tools and not teach her how to use them, right? And give her practice. And I just think more practice.
Well, it made me think, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, who was chief rabbi of England, he's an amazing soul. He was talking about, we need a compass. We need a compass more than ever in today's time, which I could not agree more.
Yes.
But something that you said, because you and I have talked a lot about women in power and running a girls' school. I did not go to a girls' school, went to a public school with, boys. And I'm just curious, in terms of character and strength and courage and bravery, how do you communicate? If you're in an all-girls school, what's your philosophy of nourishing and strengthening girls' sense of courage in the real world, where it is 50% men, 50%, in the whole spectrum, men, women, and everyone in between, but it's not that safe space. What is your thinking?
In many ways, girls' schools are like a big, giant immunization shot to girls because the culture outside of schools continues. Even in 2016, the culture outside of a girls' school still says, girls, sit down, be silent, don't take a risk, be pretty, be flawless, and if you're working hard, make sure that no one knows how hard you're working. And I think as we enter girls' schools each day, we come every day with a moral imperative, not just an educational imperative, but we show up saying to the girls, particularly at Hamlin, because courage is one of our 5 core values, that we say, your voice is required. Now, how loud it is and how frequently you use it is one thing, because every girl is different. But we teach her that she has a sense of efficacy. And I use that word very deliberately, not just, people use self-esteem, and I think that's been overused in many circles, but this sense of power, the sense that when I speak, things happen, and giving her opportunities from her early ages to take a risk without, people giggling if you forget your lines. And I love that about Hamlin. A girl can stand for 15 painfully long seconds forgetting how to do something, and you can just see the girls' faces, cheering her on, saying, be courageous, go for it, girlfriend. But I think the only way you get girls and boys, for that matter, I'm the mother of 2 wonderful sons, the only way you get them to be courageous is to create an environment where mistakes are invited. Because courage involves the risk of being wrong publicly. And
Yes.
there's no greater, humiliation sometimes than being wrong in front of everybody. So you have to make your school a place of daring, a place where public failure or private failure or a momentary lapse in judgment is okay. And that, to me, those iterations of courageous action, they build a girl who kind of has courage muscles, if you will, because she has tried and she's lifted heavy things, so to speak, to extend that metaphor.
Yeah.
So I think that's how you do it. You can't build up courage unless you're scared sometimes. I forget who it was that courage is not the absence of fear, but it's feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And so you have to kind of take situations that are a little bit scary.
Trust me, I do. I'm definitely on that edge. I've done a lot of speaking, and I remember when well, first of all, every year I give one talk that scares me. Yes. And I say yes to that talk because it really pushes me. I mean, there's some talks I feel like I've done them a lot, but there's always one new talk. I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm nervous, and I practice, and I'm, but it really is like a muscle, because after speaking for 20 years, there's a lot of talks. I just feel I have the practice and experience, and I have messed up, and I learned from that mistake. Yeah. And I also, I really do. And of course, because I've been making these films and studying this, I tell my 7-year-old, I'm like, what'd you fail at today? What'd you do that was brave today? What'd you do that was kind today? And what did you fail at? And what did you learn? Yes. Yes. And to my 13-year-old. And actually, we go around the table as a family once a week and kind of answer questions that are built on that. But I heard a word last night when I was doing an interview during this LiveCast was about fortitude, which might be my new favorite word, because I know that word, but I haven't heard it used in the terms of character. Yes. And I love that word. It's so strong. Fortitude. Yes. Like fortitude. That's going to be my new. Yes. Okay, I'm getting the 2 minutes. You and Wanda could talk about it. Okay. Wanda, I am so grateful for just everything you do. And how can people find out about your amazing poetry and your work? What's the best way to go to Hamlin's? Well, you can friend me. I can't believe I'm saying this. I sound like I'm 25 years old. You can find my public figure page on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter. If you're a parent with a fabulous 4-year-old or a girl who's from K-8, you can come to Hamlin and apply and send your daughter. But more importantly, Hamlin's website and our institution really we see ourselves as a beacon in the city of San Francisco and in the state of California and in the world. So people, hook into us, follow us, connect with us. We are really not a city on a hill. We are a school with the heart of the people of the world in our fiber. And we're fired up to be a part of today, and so grateful to you, Tiffany, for the invitation. It's just been a joy to talk to you. Oh, thank you, Wanda. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you at the shoot where I'm filming you. Absolutely. Next week. Pull the next one up. Pull the next one up. Amen to that. Okay, bye-bye. Be well, my friend.